having me on this your program.
So in a bit, maybe I should read a bit of his profile out for you to know. Felix Owolabi, who is Nigeria, was born precisely 24th of January 1956. A retired Nigerian footballer who also played for the Nigerian football national team, playing much of his career as a left winger. He played for Nigeria at the 1978 African Cup of Nations, at the 1980 Summer Olympics. He played with the Nigerian teams that came third at the 1978 African Cup of Nations and won the African Cup of Nations in 1980. The very first Lagos 80 Nigeria ever won. And of course, he held a doctorate degree in physical education. It's fondly called Owolabi. He also played for Kaduna Rocks, the Raka Rovers of Kano, and of course Shooting Stars, known then as IICC Shooting Stars of Ibadan. He was with the club for 15 years, during which in 1992 he helped the club win the CAF Cup, now known as the CAF Confederations Cup. Made 35 appearances for Super Eagles, or let me say Green Eagles, and of course scored 2 goals. I don't know if the profile is right. Maybe we should even hear from the horse's mouth. I don't know if I'm doing a little bit of justice.
You've done your bit.
Oh, okay.
But the only area is the date of my birth. I was born on the 24th of November 1954.
1954?
Yeah, not in January.
Okay.
And not 1956 as well, like you've said.
Okay, that's why we need to hear from the horse's mouth so that people listening will definitely understand. I've already read your profile out. I don't think we need to go into any nitty-gritty about that. But then, one thing, our first question of the day, sir, how were you discovered?
Incidentally, during our time, there was what we call these grassroots development programs. They were scattered all over the country. We had what we call the teacher training colleges, the commercial colleges, the technical colleges. And incidentally at that time, I want to tell you today that if grassroots development had died a natural death, it is because we do not have teacher training colleges anymore.
Teacher training colleges anymore.
And that is also the reason why we don't have competent and professional teachers teaching either in primary schools and even in colleges as well. At that time, teacher training colleges were the nature of grassroots development. You are trained as a teacher to teach in the classroom. You are trained also as a coach to teach virtually in every school. And that was the beginning of grassroots development. They were done in consonance with the establishment of state sports councils. And at that time, I want to tell you, in 1964, when the National Sports Commission was established, that was the reason for the grassroots development program that we are talking about. It's a long story. I don't know which direction you
mentioned something. Teachers and sports.
Yes.
In this modern era, we just believe teachers are designated for schools. I go to school, they teach me, nothing more. But you are putting it together as teachers. That was the beginning. You said that was the beginning of grassroots development. That means those teachers those days are kind of PHE educationists or PHE oriented.
Whatever name you want to give it. Before any child could become anything, he must have passed through a teacher.
But these are teachers
who is that teacher? A trained teacher coming from a teacher training college or a teacher training school.
Was it mandated that every teacher coming on board was?
Very, very compulsory. Very, very compulsory. And that was why at that time, people like us has the privilege and the opportunity to pass through the grassroots development program to become what we are today.
So it started actually from the schools.
Every youth is a potential champion. And who discovers that youth? It has to be the teacher. And who is the teacher? A trained teacher who must have gone through the classroom rudiments of how to be able to nurture these little children.
The teachers who must have nurtured this.
And I want to tell you that even at that time, ask anybody, most of these teachers who went to teacher training colleges, later became administrators of sports in all the various sports councils in the country, in Nigeria.
So it goes in pari passu those days.
For example, I want to tell you, do you know that Chief Onigbede was a teacher?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm happy. It's a vivid example of what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Great steal. Milton has the freedom of the court to throw it down one-handed for the USA.
So along the line, teachers are beginning of grassroots. I don't want to jump, but I'm tempted to jump. How did you not got it wrong? You are a doctor, definitely.
Number one, like I've told you, as a youth, when I was in the primary school, like I've told you, all schools at that time had what we call, there was what I call an orientation. We were oriented to become whatever you want to become. In every school, we had play centers.
Every schools
At that time had play center. Is it a volleyball court, lawn tennis court, basketball court, football pitches? Unfortunately, today we don't have them. Most of all these areas in those days that most of the schools used to have now turned into classrooms.
Classrooms, complaints.
And at that time, it was compulsory that every child must have one opportunity or the other to go into one sport. And
compulsory.
It was compulsory.
Whether you like it or not.
It was a routine. And besides that, like I've told you, the schools in those days are quite different from what we have today. We had what we called boarding schools. Majority of us were in a boarding school. And once you are in a boarding school, whether you like it or not, you must take into one sport or the other. Because the facilities were there. The teachers were there. The game masters were there. Even the women, the women there, were there, to do one thing or the other for you. And that was how we started off. Believe me sincerely, except we have to go back to the good old days. Otherwise, the kind of grassroots development I'm experiencing these days is a nice so. Yes, to some extent, people are trying, they are struggling. But believe me sincerely, we can't meet it up.
Is it that
can never be?
People never understand the impact sports can make on the society? Or we're just looking at, we have to go to school and we start building, or we overlooked, or we don't have administrators that understand the game?
The most unfortunate aspect of this scenario is that government has become the sole actor, the sole sponsor of grassroots development program in Nigeria. And so because of that, it has shut up doors for corporate bodies to get absolutely involved. And except we go back to the drawing board, like always people would say,
it's full already.
And then begin to see how we make it a government-private partnership something. Believe me sincerely, we're going to have it very, very difficult. The reason is very, very obvious. There are various laudable programs all over the country that the citizens are yearning for. Sports today, like I have always told people, drive the economy of the whole world.
Definitely.
Look at what is happening because of this
COVID-19.
Coronavirus something. It has shut up the economy. And the world already is in recess, yes, whether we like it or
definitely
not. And now look at what is happening in Europe. Nobody goes to the stadium. Everybody,
almost all sports shut
everywhere
down.
Is shut down. So you cannot imagine sports no longer is taken as recreation like the government of this country has taken it. It is not. Rather, it is an empowerment. It has become an empowerment, a weapon of unity in the first place, and then secondly, the purposes of getting this youth, gainfully employed, it goes beyond what you can imagine.
In a row, it's Serbia who come out on top.
The benefits of getting this youth employed goes beyond what we can imagine.
It is only sports that you can have that.
Only sport you can have that. You can be part of the program definitely, or in case you want to watch us live anywhere you are in the world, go to Facebook and of course search for Pensioners FM 106.7 On Facebook, Pensioners FM 106.7. And of course, you can listen to us live anywhere you are in the world as well. You can tell somebody to tell somebody. www.liveonlineradio.net, or just search for Pensioners FM, or you use this Streamer or Radio Garden. Just search for Pensioners FM, and of course, you can just click on the live play, and of course, you will be right here. And of course, you can go through our website, www.pensioners1067fm.com, www.pensioners1067fm.com, and of course, you'll be live on here. Still Sport Drill on Pensioners FM, and I have with me a former Nigerian international, and of course, a legend in the game, Felix Owolabi, who is now a chief. So you talk about government being the sole actor right now. Back then, is it not just the government, or we had organization, private enterprises?
I'm happy you've asked this very intelligent question. I don't know if you came, you had been born and you experienced Railway Corporation, the Nigerian Railway Corporation.
I don't think so.
There was this Nigerian Railway Corporation. In short, let us use it as corporate bodies. We had the Leventis. We had the Djiboutson, we had the Chelarams, we had even the banks. Is it the UBA? All the various banks were very much involved in sports development, and so it was encompassing. At that time, the Nigerian Railway Corporation, for example, I want to use, had a recreation club, and in the recreation club, what they would do is they put all these facilities there for youth to go there and get themselves engaged.
Yeah.
Volleyball, basketball court, table
Handball.
tennis. I also remember in those days, the Mapo you are seeing today, played two prominent roles in Nigerian sports.
Mapo.
Mapo.
The Mapo. Okay.
The Mapo Hall, before anybody could become a good boxer, you must pass through Mapo Hall. The Dele Jonathans of this world passed through Mapo Hall. The YD Econs, people tennis, passed through Mapo Hall. Go and ask. The Akamuns of this world passed through. Olawumi Majedu Kodomi and the likes of them. Kuye, they passed through Mapo Hall. Today, what is Mapo Hall for? It has become a different thing entirely. That's one vivid example for you to know what I'm saying. Now, these corporate bodies at that time had various clubs, football clubs, basketball clubs, and so there were competitions at that time. Various competitions were going on. Even this, I remember Central Bank, all these bankers competitions or whatever. So in our time, we were kept busy apart from the academics. After school hours, the competitions are there, here and there. And so from all these competitions, we were discovered. And that's why I told you that there's no nectar of the grassroots development program that it did not pass out through. So from the grassroots, from the primary school, there were competitions. From the secondary school, there was a time we had principal corps, governors corps, Adebanjo corps, and whatever you can think about it. We had the league going on at that time too.
As well.
We had the FA Cup also going at that time. So there were various areas that you can go as game masters, as coaches, because with the state sports councils, coaches were going around. They were in charge of organizing these various competitions. But however, they have their own coaches separated along the borderline across all the various local governments of every state, trying to nurture these children and then bring them together to the state capital for various competitions. Today we don't have them. Tomorrow, one day somebody will just rise up and say, I'm doing a grassroots development program. And by the time you know what is happening, all he's doing is just competition. We are very, very much interested in competition. How do you get these players? It has to go through a particular process. It's just like our oil. The oil that we are talking about, that they say they take it abroad to refine or whatever. They must pass through certain processes before you can get them refined. The same thing is with human beings. So, except we go back to have all this put on ground, believe me, and that is the obvious reason why, for example, today Even in the universities, there's restiveness there. I remember in our days, for example, I played in the university games. I played in the university games. Nuga. I don't think if it exists today. If it's existing, I don't think we have them today. For example, there was what we call the police games.
Police games. I still see. I think that one and the match 7.
There was what we called police games. The Oyarekwas, this lady that went to
Atlanta, that one.
And there was what we call the armed forces games, naval games, the Air Force games.
All these games.
We don't have them any longer because these are those areas
that you pick,
that you go
and pick talent, nurture, develop before they become what they will become. Now, you talk about private organizations being part of it. Is it that they pulled out, or why is it that we don't have them again? Now, government is funding. There are cases that we shout, I will say, private organizations come out and sponsor some of this program. How is it so hard that they cannot be part of it now? Or when did they decide that to pull out, that we're not interested in anything Nigerian sport again?
It is because government has not given the corporate conglomerates the leverage.
Leverage in terms of
waiver. For example, if you have a corporate body, a corporate organization, is it the telecom, for example, maybe one of those has decided to say, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that. Yes, they have a corporate responsibility to play to the society. But aside that too, most of the equipment, most of the facilities they want to have, you see, before you can get anything done, government must be an active participant.
Okay.
Must be the provider. The facility must be provided. The land must be provided. And then waiver. In Europe, you look at what is happening. Endorsement, sponsorship, drive, partnership, what is and that, and the rights. They don't just come overnight. They are put into perspective, so that everybody becomes a partner, a playmaker, a joint venture, not just sole body.
Okay.
Now, for example, I would have expected that for any contract in the Super Eagles, I'm using the Super Eagles as an example, in whatever sponsorship the Super Eagles want to have with any corporate organization or whatever, it must be in line with maybe a five-year plan program. The 5-year plan programming is not just for the competition, but what we are doing here is until the Eagles qualify, until the Falcons qualify, before somebody comes and say, no, I want to do this, I want to do that.
Yeah.
It's cheap publicity. For me, I see it as a cheap publicity. But if you are part of me, right from the word go, there's every leverage you can decide to go, not just the competition. After the competition, what next? This is where we're having the difficulties and the challenges in our own climb here. For example, I ask you, who is that player in Nigeria today, that footballer in Nigeria today, that any corporate body can so, single-handedly boast to say, I discovered through our program, through our this, through our that, we discover them. But you go to England, for example.
A lot.
Rashford, he has his roots. He has a root. Cristiano Ronaldo has a root.
Almost.
Messi has a root.
Almost every one of them.
Felix Owolabi has no roots because nobody except Felix Owolabi comes to tell you that this is how I started. And this is from where I started, from Kaduna, from this and that. And then you came here, blah blah, in your studio and say, yes, let me give you a dossier about who Felix Owolabi is and this and that. And that's all.
Wow.
Whereas everything would be backed up with documents
and every data
with clips. These are the things we need. And believe me sincerely, yes, I know we are trying. Believe me sincerely, but it's not enough. The sports development we are talking about must be a blueprint. It must be guided with discipline. It must be backed with a law that one government is not there, it's not a problem. Another person comes there and he continues like that. It is not a matter of, I'm not interested in that program. No, it should be mandatory, backed up by legislation. If we can do that sports development, the better it will be for Nigeria.
If we can do that sport development, the better it will be for Nigeria. I saw the phone lines blinking. definitely not the time to pay calls for now. Still having a discussion at the moment. 12:27, about 12:30, 12:31. Definitely can open the phone line. You have opinions, questions to ask. My guest, Felix Owolabi, former Nigerian footballer, AFCON winner. So let's go to we're talking at Grassroot. Quickly, how you moved when you were going from the Grassroot, how you found yourself ICC or Rivers of Kano or playing this, and how you eventually made it to Super Eagles team.
I forgot to let you know one house that made the difference in Nigerian football, in Nigerian sports generally at our time. The National Sports Commission, when it was established in 1964, I think the late General Adefowope became the first chairman of this National Sports Commission. With the establishment of the National Sports Commission, the sole responsibility of that Sports Commission was to take charge of sports development in the country. With the subsidiary state sports councils in all the states of the federation. Like I've told you, you need a blueprint.
Definitely.
The technocrats must be there, the professionals must be there. So we had the professionals like David Isaac Akioye. He was the director of the Sports Commission. Dr. Enajakpo, one of the technocrats. Dr. Aworiture Eleya. We had the Baba Abraham Odia of this world, who were part of that National Sports Commission. So we had competent and effective and efficient generals in sports development.
Who understands the game.
Who understood what sports was all about. Now, in the blueprint, they did a lot of things, collaborating with countries like Germany. I don't know if you know what we call the National Institute of Sport, which is in Lagos.
Yes.
It's based inside the National Sports Commission. That was part of that organization's their blueprint or something. Now, the reason for the establishment of the National Institute was to bring experts to come and help coach our coaches. Brainwash them, bring them new ideas, technologies, and whatever. Then they would now be sent to the state sports councils. And the state sports council, because they have various local government as well.
Yes.
The state sports council will now send these coaches
to various
like, is it Oyo, is it Irua, Ogbomoso, Shaki, and this, which that was exactly what was
that was the blueprint on ground.
The blueprint on
train
ground.
These people, push them to the sport commission within the state.
Yes.
Then distribute them.
Then another aspect was that the collaboration also was with most of the universities in the US. In the US, I remember the Modupe Oshikoya, the Ebito, and the likes of them at that time, when they got an admission, to go to the US, for further studies. That is trying to combine education and sports. Now, while they are there, the collaboration is that, look, when it is time for any competition or whatever, they will be asked to come back home. They will be training them in, whether you like it or not. In the US, there's what we call intercollegiates or whatever. So it's like you have sent out some of your children abroad, not only for education but for sports. So by the time you know what is happening for any championship or competition, the national sports people I'm talking about, when it's about to happen, they ask them to come home for trials and see how they will fit into the system. And at the end of the day, by the time you know what is happening, they are part of the developmental program that we are talking of. There was also a time that in boxing, the same thing happened. Is it Yugoslavia? Bulgaria. Bulgaria is one of the best nations in boxing. There was a collaboration, with the National Sports Commission. So, for example, if there's going to be is it Olympics? Is it the
African
competition, African games, and whatever? They are invited, that they come. So it will not be a question of, where do we take this athletes to? Already Cuba used to be the best in basketball and even in boxing. So what we do is, because of that collaboration, they won't spend much. So MOU is already there. They send them on training tour and whatever. And that was why the Nigerian sports was thriving at that time from 1974. And when the first National Sports Festival came in, many athletes, came overboard. And that was how they became, glorious skinny. Now, for example, I remember at a time, the 400, is it the 400 by 10, whatever, relay team.
4 by 100?
For years in Nigeria. Nigeria was number one in the whole world. Today, do we have them now? The only superstar you can think about of now that is reigning outside is it Okagbare?
No, Divine Blessing Okagbare.
Apart from that, but in those days, you can have up to 10 athletes coming to represent Nigeria.
I mean, it looks like magic, as you're saying. Because it's what I'm trying to give imaginations to you as you are speaking. I'm trying to figure it with what is happening right now. And I begin to wonder, can we ever even get there?
We don't have them now. Except we go back to the establishment of the National Sports Commission to know the relevance of it. Some people destroy the structure.
We're going to get this. We're going to get to
people
how they destroyed
that structure.
I mean, we have to go on a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I'll give out the phone numbers. Then we continue with the show. It's still Sport Drill on Personals 106.7 FM.
That's pass. Milutino with the dunk. Bogdanovic. In it goes.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, oúnjẹ lọ̀rẹ́ àwọ̀. A gbọ́dọ̀ jẹun tó dáa tí ó ṣara wa lóore. Ibì kan wà tẹ́tí lè jẹ oúnjẹ ayọ̀. Tẹ́ ó gbádùn ara yín. Alámàlà restaurant náà pè é. Irúfẹ́ oúnjẹ wo lẹ̀yin fẹ́? Ó ṣe oúnjẹ ìbílẹ̀ bí àmàlà, ẹ̀bà, fùfú, sẹ̀mó, àbí ìrẹsì, àsáró, mọ́ínmọ́ín àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Pẹ̀lú àwọn oríṣiríṣi ọbẹ̀ tó fi mọ́ tẹja tẹran. Kò tán síbẹ̀ o. Àwọn náà látún ni Chop Easy. Tí ní pé ẹ kàn pé tẹlifóònù nọ́mbà wa. Ibi yòówù tẹ́ bá wà, a máa gbóúnjẹ yín wá bá yín níbẹ̀. A tún dáná oúnjẹ fún àwọn aláyẹyẹ. Pábánbárì bẹ̀ ni pé a tún ta àwọn oúnjẹ lẹ́jẹ̀wọ̀n eléyìí tí ò tí ì di sísè ìṣúlẹ̀ fẹ́ ni ẹyin àwọn ohun èlò ìsebẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ bá tún ṣe fẹ́ sí a ó tún bá yín gbé wa Chop Easy àrà kan tún wà tá a tún ń dá àwọn frozen food tẹ́ bá fẹ́ chicken turkey ẹja ẹran ìgbín gbogbo àwọn jíjẹ tó ń ṣara lóore àwa náà ní kẹ́ẹ̀kan sí àyíká tó dùn wò tó mọ́ tónítóní ìbẹ̀lẹ̀ ti lè rí àwọn oúnjẹ wa rà a wà ládojúkọ Àkóbọ̀ police station Àkóbọ̀ Ìbàdàn nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ẹ pè wá sórí 08106314593 tàbí 08026004811 Chop Easy kí jíjẹ mímu já ìrọ̀rùn láyàn lọ́kùnkúndùn.
Atótó arére gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọ bíbí àti olùgbé ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ẹ má jẹ́ kó jọ bí arélé ti yín o wípé a ti ní ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ coronavirus nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ṣùgbọ́n ẹ má mi kàn tá ń wíjẹ́ lásánlàsàn tó fẹ́ rápálá wọnú omi tuntun tó rú nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ní COVID-19 kí gbogbo wa ó kọjú oró sí i ló lè mú kéegun rẹ̀ ó má ṣẹ̀yọ mọ́ nípínlẹ̀ wa bí ẹ bá ti ń tẹ̀lé àwọn ìlànà wọ̀nyí fọwọ́ rẹ lóòrèkóòrè pẹ̀lú omi tó mọ́ tónítóní àti ọṣẹ lo tissue paper láti máa fi bo imú rẹ fi ìgúnpá rẹ dí gàgà imú tí o bá fẹ́ sín tàbí wúkọ́ yàgò fún ẹni tí ìlera rẹ̀ bá ń ṣe fíagan dúró sílé yẹra rẹ sọ́tọ̀ bí o bá ti ń kẹ́fín àìsàn kan lágọ̀ọ́ ara rẹ má ṣe fọwọ́ kan imú tàbí ojú àti ẹnu rẹ bí ọwọ́ rẹ kò bá mọ́ tónítóní ẹ yàgò fún dídì mọ́ra ẹni lákòókò yìí tàbí bíbọra ẹni lọ́wọ́ ṣe gààyà fún àpéjọpọ̀ ènìyàn tàkété sí ẹlòmíràn ní bí ẹsẹ̀ bàtà mẹ́fà bí ẹ bá ti wá kẹ́fín àwọn ìlera bíi òtútù orí fífọ́ ara gbígbóná ikọ́ gbígbẹ àìlèmí jálẹ̀jákè sísín lóòrèkóòrè ẹ tètè yà kàn sí àwọn ojú òpó pàjáwìrì tíjọba ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ fi síta o 08095394000 tàbí 08095863000 ẹni tí yóò jagun ìlú àṣàmú ó gbọ́dọ̀ jẹnu ṣámúṣámú ń ló fa ìgbésẹ̀ ọgán yìí o omi tuntun ti rú nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ kò ní gbẹ lójijì ṣe ìmọ́tótó ara rẹ láti dènà àìsàn coronavirus ìkéde ìwá látọ̀dọ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ State COVID-19 Task Force.
They've got plenty forward. Ronaldo's up as well. How about that for an introduction? Which again, well,
Welcome back from the short break. I have to pay some